So change any negative memories, of course, to the opposite, positive, empowering, and then create new memories of you effortlessly doing things. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to live support from Odille for changing negative implicit childhood memories using the Remmert Method. And we've created this forum for those who've watched our YouTube videos or read our book and need help with changing childhood memories and using the techniques, but aren't in a position to do one-to-one sessions right now. So this forum is for you to get personal help from me as you need it. And if you're new to the Remmert Method, be sure to check out the links in the description, or if you'd like me to take you through the process of changing memories, check the link in the description of this video for details on how to do that. And we have three people today. The first one is in the room live. It's Swasti. Hi, Swasti.
Hi.
Hey, how can I help you today?
Okay, so I had a bit of a mood yesterday. So I had my first exam and it wasn't great.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's okay because I can make up in the second one. I have a second opportunity, so I'm okay about that. You know, the pre-paving and everything, and I felt like the unconditional love from the group and everything. I was calm and I took my time and stuff. I was not stressed, and everything that I kind of implemented before, I was
Well
wow.
done.
Yeah.
Yay. Good job, Swasti. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but then when I thought about it in the evening and then this morning, I was I made such stupid mistakes because half of the questions were impossible. That as in, even if you studied, you can answer them unless you're some genius. And then the other half was common sense, you could work them out. But even on those ones, I overthought it, or from what I recall, I remember picking something else. So I literally think I was why? But I don't know why I did that, right? And then I was that's just easy marks gone. So that means I have more pressure in the second one, the second paper next week, to make up for it, because now they get added up. The scores get added up. Yeah, and then it's just been a bad day because of it. And then basically my fear was, I think, coming out of it was that I just felt unsupported, because I was talking to friends about it and they were all pretending it was fine, but I don't think it was fine. The majority of people didn't find it fine, but I just seemed to be surrounded by people who are oh, it's all good. They are smart people, but it's also you're very non-emotional. And I think that was so triggering, because I was you're not understanding my perspective right now. And then I just kind of kept amplifying, because I was people don't understand me, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And so what would you have preferred their reaction to have been? How would you have liked them to have responded?
It's very self-centered kind of talk. It's oh yes, so I did this, I found this. But I'm I'm telling you about what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
Because the thing is I am receptive of people. If they said something to me, I would understand and respond appropriately. So because I know what that looks like, I'm not getting that back. So that's what it is.
Right. Yes. And did the lack of appropriate response, their selfishness or their self-centeredness or whatever, did it remind you of anything from childhood?
Yeah, it was just my parents. But I've been struggling to practice the memories. So I've just been trying to feel it instead of because I try and visualize it, but I can't. But feeling it is the main thing.
Yes. And so when you try to imagine it and you try to feel it, what happens? What's happening instead of you being able to?
It's just a block. It's no, it's just such a resistance to doing it. It's before, when you don't want to jump into a cold water, in a pool, which is cold. Yes. It's that.
Okay, very good. So let's analyze that. So let's get a little bit deeper on it. If you do it now, so we can see exactly where the sticking point is. So right now, if you imagine your parents being like that, what are you trying to imagine? First of all, what's your aim?
Just emotions, to be honest.
Yeah. And what does that look like or feel like, or how will you know if it does work?
That feeling of empathy and being listened to.
Good. What you're trying to imagine is your parents being empathetic to you and understanding what you're saying. Okay, very good. Yeah. And what would that look like if it was visual?
The eye contact and the arm around you. Yeah, reassuring body language.
Very good. Good job, Swasti. And so now as you try to imagine that in your mind, you try to imagine that scene, what happens instead?
Yeah, I think unconsciously what was playing was how they respond normally, which is, non-emotion, like really not even not understanding, it's just like harsh. It's like, you could have done better. Like, we didn't
Right.
expect this from you. Like, this isn't good enough.
Wow. Okay. And do you know anybody? Can you think of anyone? And you don't need to know them personally. They don't even need to be a real person. But can you think of, it could be a character or imaginary, whatever. Can you think of someone who would have that empathetic approach and would understand and would care?
Yeah, I was putting you and my mother. So that's what I imagined throughout
Okay.
the exam. I was like,
Okay, good.
this is what's reassuring right now.
Ah, okay, very good. And so imagine me in front of your mother now.
Mm.
And what's your mother doing? Or what's the expression on her face?
So my mum is empathetic,
Mm-hmm.
but she's too empathetic to the point where she'll cry at somebody else's problems, but
Okay.
not her own kids' problems.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so what's the difference there? What makes her cry at someone else's problems, but not her own children?
Because she mirrors my dad, who is
There you
careless
go.
about emotions.
All right. Very good. You're doing really well. Okay. And so now imagine your dad imagine me with your dad and what's your dad doing, or what's the expression on his face?
Just harsh. Yeah.
Okay. And so can you imagine me in front and your dad standing behind me?
Mm-hmm.
And then imagine him coming through me. And as he comes through me, he takes on all my qualities. Can you imagine that? He learns how to be compassionate and kind and patient and caring.
Yeah. I could put Steve through him just because of the
Good.
masculine male female
Yep,
thing.
that's fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you can imagine that as he comes through Steve, he takes on all Steve's qualities of being kind and understanding and caring.
I can see both. They're kind of like
Okay.
superimposed. They're not in him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So let me ask you this. If your dad was like Steve, so it's still your dad, it looks like your dad, still your dad, but he had all Steve's qualities instead of the qualities he has, what would be wrong with that?
I feel like this was the main cause of his stress, so he wouldn't have anything to stress about.
Right.
There would be no
And
drama.
yes, exactly. And what's wrong with not having any drama or not having anything to stress about?
Yeah, that's just abnormal.
And dangerous.
Yeah.
Because if you think about, if somebody was living a dangerous area of the wilderness, and so there were a lot of, tigers around, let's say, they've got to constantly be looking out for those tigers because the one day they drop their guard, they're dead, right? And so this is how a lot of us grow up. We've got to be stressed because that's how we're keeping an eye out for them. Because if we're not stressed, we're vulnerable and we could then be attacked. Of course, this goes for your dad as well as you. So your dad has to stay stressed, and in your mind, your dad has to stay stressed.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes. Yeah.
You have to stay stressed. He has to stay stressed, so you all stay alive. All right. But of course, what's important there is the fact that the part of you, the unconscious part of you that needs to stay stressed to stay alive and that needs your dad to stay stressed to be safe, that's the part of you that is perceiving danger when there is no danger. It's not real. So it's, the child who's frightened of the monsters under the bed. And the child is genuinely frightened and genuinely believes there are monsters under the bed, but you as the adult know there aren't. It's important to keep reminding yourself of that and putting it in perspective. As you imagine your dad now, imagine he has Steve's qualities, and that part of you says, no, I can see both. Now, can you answer that by saying it's okay to let go of the stress part because there is no danger. There are no monsters under the bed. And if you can't, that's okay. There's other things we can do.
Yeah. If I practice it enough. Yes.
Practice it. Yeah. And if you find it difficult, imagine him so that you've got those two parts. You can see both. I want you to imagine the calm one that has Steve's qualities that's the adult him. And the part that's still stressed and still has his old qualities is the child. That's the little boy him. And that little boy is terrified. And that's why he can't drop his guard. So then you can reassure the little boy and go, it's okay, sweetie. There's no monsters under the bed. Have a look, right?
Okay.
And you're safe. And another thing you can do is imagine the adult him hugging the little him and reassuring. Imagine him reassuring his own child in him.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Very good. All right. So that's that. So now can you imagine, having done that, can you now imagine him being your dad with the little you, and that little you telling him things that she's worried about or she's upset about, and him being empathetic and kind and reassuring and really caring about what she's feeling?
Yeah, like to some extent, he always talks about himself. So that's what I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to imagine that there's a switch on the side of his head here, or on the back of his head, that if you switch that switch, it switches from that he doesn't talk about himself and he's very caring about you.
Yeah, to some extent. It's funny, but yeah.
What would happen if he didn't talk about himself? So let's say he didn't have that quality. What would that be like?
It would be like free and liberated. I can see like the light shining from him.
Nice.
Empowered.
Very good. Good job. And any reason not to have him like that?
No.
Okay. So can you keep it?
No. Yeah.
Good job. Very good. Yeah, very good. And so practice that and keep reminding yourself that this is, when you can't imagine it like that, it doesn't mean that it's not possible. It's just that there's, it just needs to be done in a slightly different way. It needs to be tweaked a bit, or something needs to be answered.
Okay.
Or some other reference needs changing. So there's always a way to do it. Sometimes it just needs different steps. Does that help? Okay, so now I want you to imagine your mum and your dad with the younger you, and can you imagine both of them giving that feeling to you of being empathetic? They completely understand, they get you, and they're sympathetic.
Yeah.
Good. And another thing that came to me is also you can imagine your dad saying, when he's talking about himself, what he's actually saying is, I understand, because I've had that experience as well. So I understand completely.
Okay.
So the only time he talks about himself is to reassure you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Sound
Those
good?
words mean a lot. Yeah.
Good. Very good. And now let's think about those people. So of course, with the references you had, those old references you had, two things: you'll be drawn to people who are going to be like that. So the people you connect with are going to be those who are like that because they're in alignment with your parents. And secondly, even when people aren't like that, your brain won't register it.
Yeah.
So in other words, somebody in amongst those people could say, oh yeah, I know what you mean. And your brain will filter it out because it's not in alignment with your childhood.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. Very good. And so now when you think of that experience with those people, how do you feel?
I mean, I still feel that rage of yesterday, but again, I realize that I don't have to interact with them. And that is also an option. Yeah.
Out of how many people are these people that you're talking about?
Like two people.
Oh, it's two people.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are others in the room or in the environment that could be very different. Right. Yeah. Keep playing those new childhood memories and then be open to connecting with different people.
Yeah.
Other people who are, more in alignment with the new childhood stuff, the new parents.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Very good. Good job, sweetheart. Also, let's just quickly look at those questions in the exam. What could have been different, what you could have done differently, and that kind of thing. So when you think about, I made different choices, I chose the things that I shouldn't have chosen, what emotions are there as you think of that? What's the approach to that?
It's just like I was doing it unconsciously, but I think what was happening was like not trusting the choice. So when I read a question, and then I read the answer option, something will come to me straight away. And that's usually right. Then I'll read every other answer option and deep it and spend so much time on it and then choose something else.
Right. And what happened just before you made the choice, just before you chose the other thing? What thoughts or feelings were there, if you can remember?
It was just analyzing it so much.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I remember doing. I was like, yeah. I
So
mean,
you
yeah,
analyze.
the questions are not straightforward, but like,
Uh-huh.
because the answer options are even not straightforward because it's multiple
Right.
choice. But there were some questions which was clear, like one was about menopause and about alkali and acid. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
so something becomes more alkali. And then
Mm-hmm.
I knew it becomes more alkali, but I picked the pH, which was like, it goes down. So acidic. So I picked
Good.
the
So
wrong
let's
thing.
Yes, so let's look at that. It's great that you've got a very specific example. So see if you can go back to that moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know that it's alkaline, it becomes more
Yes.
alkaline, but you're looking at the answer that says about the pH.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Can you remember what happened there? Because between the two now.
Okay, so the other answer option I was contemplating was low estrogen. And I know
Mm-hmm,
that in menopause is low estrogen, but I was
mm-hmm,
like, this isn't related to the question because the question was about UTIs and why is there a higher risk of UTIs in menopause.
right.
And so I was like, oh, menopause links to pH. So then I picked that instead of low estrogen, but actually low estrogen causes the high pH. I was
So
like,
which do you
oh,
think is the correct answer?
the correct answer is the low estrogen one, which I didn't
Low
pick.
estrogen.
Yeah.
Okay. And so going back now, if you were able to step into that room with that version of you, what would you say to you at that very point where you're about to make that choice?
Yeah, so I rehearsed this in my head. I was like, next time you know that answer is right. You know what's
Yeah.
in the stem is right. So pick that,
Yeah.
even if it's not related. Because the other options are wrong because that's how the questions work. Four answers are
Right.
wrong and one is right. You know one is
Yes.
right, so pick that one.
Very good. And so tell me this, if you, let's say you're in that room, you're about to select pH, the pH option, and somebody says to you, but what about the estrogen one? What would you answer in that moment? What would that version of you answer?
It's unrelated to the question.
Estrogen is unrelated to
Yeah,
the
but
question.
it is.
What made you think it was unrelated to the question?
Again, because of the pH and UTIs. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was just analyzing it too much because I knew.
Okay, so I was just checking if there was anything else there, if there was any other if there were any other programs going on there.
No, this always happens to me. So in an exam situation, whether that's any form of exam, like any exam I've ever taken, practical,
Yeah,
theory, uni or non-uni, in the actual exam, I'll always do something different to what I've always done.
interesting.
So like if I'm just practicing, I would do what I've normally done all throughout, like the strategy I've been doing. When it
Mm-hmm.
gets to the exam, I'll do something different, like I know nothing.
And what do you think that is about?
Just not trusting myself. It's not
Okay,
stress because that was not stress. It was just
yeah,
lack of
yeah,
trust.
trust. Yes, very good. How do you feel when you think of your childhood and trust?
Well, there was none, but I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
So
trust myself at all, like, but that's because my parents never trusted me. So, oh yeah, my parents always
there
called me
you go.
stupid. It was like, you're really stupid, you won't survive in the big world. So I believed that
Whoa.
about myself.
Okay, so that's huge. That's a foundational one because I was wondering if there was something like this in the background. That's why I was
Mm.
looking closer. Because as you are, so you're in that exam, your brain is, of course, constantly trying to keep you in alignment with what's in your childhood, not with what you want now. You know that the right answer, but if
Mm.
you give the right answer, it means you won't be in alignment with being stupid and not surviving in the real world. In fact, it will be the opposite of that.
Yeah.
That's why your conscious mind, so what's happening then, this is what I was looking for. Your conscious mind is recognizing the right answer, and the unconscious part of your brain is seeing that as the wrong answer. You see that
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not alignment with, so it doesn't matter the intellectual factor. It's about that doesn't match this in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the multiple choice. This is just amazing, right? You've got the multiple choice intellectually and correctly. There is the one right answer. For the unconscious part of your brain, that is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
And that's why you've got that conflict going on.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
So two things here. The first thing is knowing that will help you in the exam because you'll know, okay, I know you'll recognize the right answer. When that doubt steps in and goes, oh, but that doesn't, remind yourself, at the very least, just remind yourself of the fact that right now, the first one was your intellect, your conscious mind. The second one was the unconscious part of your brain trying to choose the wrong answer to keep you in alignment, those old memories.
Okay.
So then you'll know, okay, I know that this seems like it should be the right one, but I know that that's the unconscious part of my brain. It must be this one. So that'll help on a certain, to a certain extent, on a certain level. And then, of course, the thing that really needs to happen is making sure that those memories of being called stupid, being told you're stupid and you won't survive in the real world, that's massive. Right? We definitely want to change that. What we're aiming for is that your parents are telling you how brilliant you are, how amazing you are, how natural everything is to you. So change any negative memories, of course, to the opposite, positive, empowering, and then create new memories of you effortlessly doing things, answering things. And you don't need to know the details of what they are, but just you were reading from 2 years old, your vocabulary was amazing at 4 years old, whatever. Make it so, and your parents, the way you know this is hearing your parents not only telling you how brilliant you are, but you overhear them talking to other people about their genius child and how she doesn't even have to try. Hear the pride, how proud they are of you in their voice, see it in their faces, in their expressions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Practice them until they're established, those new memories, and then make that your priority to keep remembering your parents raving about how amazing you are. And let's change that phrase from telling you you're stupid and you won't survive in the real world to the mantra that they keep saying is, you are so brilliant, or something. You can come up with what feels good for you, but something like that. You're so brilliant. It just comes naturally to you. You're going to do amazing things. Okay. So see it as your parents back then could see your future as an amazing doctor helping so many people. And that's what they are talking about. How would that feel?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So then keep repeating that. And then whenever you think of the exam, play those new memories. So the combination of that, having the new memory so that eventually the unconscious part of your brain is on board with the correct answers, because now it's trying to keep you in alignment with the new memories. And at the same time, being aware of that in the exam. And so, like you've done, which is great, you have a plan for next time. So, I must go with the first answer that I recognize as real. And on top of that, I know that the second guessing is not a real thing that's coming from that survival state. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Good. So how do you feel about the next exam?
I feel good, but I just don't know about how much I have to cut it, I don't know if I will cut it at this point, because I was going through so many questions. I was I'd done that to at least 10 questions. And those were the simple ones, let alone the hard ones.
Right.
Well, there were 120 questions, so, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say you don't know if you'll cut it, what do you mean?
Like the pass mark.
You don't know if you will have passed yesterday's exam, is what you mean?
Well, I'll find out on Friday morning whether I have to do the second one, but I'm pretty sure I will be doing the second one. I'm totally okay with that. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. So you only have to do the second one if you didn't pass the first one. It's not that you have to do both. Oh, okay. Right. Well, that's fantastic then.
Yeah.
Right. I would say assume that you're going to do the second one.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And look forward to it. You see, if you had gone in and just not had any idea, or you thought the wrong ones were really the right ones from the beginning, that would be a different challenge.
Yeah.
But the fact that you knew the right ones and you just chose the wrong ones is great, because you know what to do about that.
Yeah.
It's not like you haven't studied enough, or you don't know it. So that can be more relaxing. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, sweetheart. Good job. I'm very proud of you. Very good. All right. You're welcome.